For half a decade, the promise of Artemis III was simple and historic. NASA was going to send astronauts back to the moon for the first time since 1972 to explore the treacherous lunar South Pole. Delivering on that promise required hardware on a staggering scale. This is the Space Launch System, or SLS, a super heavy lift rocket built specifically to punch the Orion crew capsule out of Earth's gravity well and into deep space. But in early 2026, the plan changed. NASA announced that Artemis III will still launch in 2027, but the crew will not land on the moon. The timeline hit a major bottleneck with the lander. The mission relies on SpaceX's Starship to act as the human landing system, but the complex reality of developing and refueling a vehicle of this massive size in orbit pushed the delivery schedule back. At the same time, engineers analyzing data from earlier uncrewed flights discovered unexpected anomalies with the Orion capsule's heat shield. The protective layer experienced more charring and material loss than anticipated during re-entry, requiring a thorough reassessment. Pushing a crew to the lunar surface against those engineering realities invited catastrophic risk. Instead, NASA chose to pivot, retooling the mission to verify every critical piece of hardware in low Earth orbit before it ever leaves the vicinity of our planet. Aerospace engineering relies on a concept called an orbital proving ground. You test unproven, complex systems a few hundred miles above Earth before you trust them in deep space. NASA wrote this playbook during the Apollo program. In 1969, before Apollo 11 ever attempted a lunar descent, the Apollo 9 crew spent 10 days in low Earth orbit doing a shakedown of the original lunar module. Look at this diagram outlining the revised Artemis III flight path. The Orion capsule will launch into low Earth orbit, where the crew will perform highly complex rendezvous and docking maneuvers with a commercial lander. This maneuver has to be executed with one or both of the massive commercial landers currently in the pipeline. NASA contracted both SpaceX's Starship HLS and Blue Origin's Blue Moon lander. The physics of aligning and docking with these multi-story vehicles must be proven in a microgravity environment. Mathematically verifying these multi-craft docking procedures 200 miles above the Earth is a strict prerequisite before anyone attempts them 240,000 miles away in a lunar halo orbit. The hardware test isn't limited to the spacecraft. The crew also has to test the new Axiom Extravehicular Mobility Unit, the suits they will eventually wear on the lunar surface. This is the Artemis III Science Definition Team report. It outlines a rigorous scientific mandate for the lunar South Pole, making it clear that legacy Apollo-era spacesuits simply cannot support the physical tasks required. Geologists need to collect surface and subsurface samples from rugged terrain. That means the Axiom suits are engineered with advanced joint mobility, allowing astronauts to perform deep knee bends and crouch without fighting the intense pressurization of the suit. They also require heavy-duty thermal protection to keep astronauts alive in the permanently shadowed, ultra-cold craters of the lunar South Pole for hours at a time. Engineers are running baseline tests on these suits right now. Down in NASA's Neutral Buoyancy Lab, astronauts use a submerged testing environment to simulate 1/6 lunar gravity and refine their mobility. But water is not space. The Axiom suit's life support mechanisms, thermal regulation, and mobility joints ultimately have to be verified in a true vacuum before a crew relies on them to survive a moonwalk. This infographic charts out the aerospace concept of buying down risk. A return trip to Earth from low Earth orbit takes a matter of hours. A return trip from the moon's near rectilinear halo orbit takes several days. If a docking ring fails to latch or a spacesuit unexpectedly depressurizes during an EVA on Artemis III, the crew has an immediate, rapid abort pathway to bring them home safely. If those exact same hardware failures happen for the first time during a lunar descent or a deep space spacewalk, the crew does not have a quick way out. The margins for survival drop to zero. By absorbing that risk now, NASA cleared the board for the next mission. Artemis IV is officially scheduled for 2028, and it will be the mission that returns humans to the lunar surface. The astronauts on Artemis IV will step out onto the lunar South Pole, relying entirely on landers and spacesuits that were physically tested and verified by the crew of Artemis III. Artemis III serves as the foundational testing ground for the crews that follow. By absorbing the risks of first-time hardware in Earth's orbit, it builds the reliability needed for humans to stay on the moon for good.